Keep it going for Allie Anderson. Give it up for Sally one more time, guys. She's doing great. So, as Sally mentioned, I was born and raised in Las Vegas. Yeah, if I were to Yelp review my childhood in Vegas, 2.5 out of 5 stars. Because, it was fun taking pole dancing as a PE credit. But when Nevada is ranked 49th in the country for education, I'd argue that pole dancing doubles as job training. Right? No, don't get me wrong, Vegas is a great place to start a family. You just don't want to stick around long enough to actually raise it. Which coincidentally was my dad's motto. My dad was a very interesting man. Or no, maybe a better word for it is delusional. When I was younger, my dad told me that he invented parkour. That is funny. If you don't know, parkour is a sport where you go from point A to point B in as short of a distance as possible. So some professionals who do it will jump from rooftop to rooftop. Some amateurs have really neat looking suicides. My dad had a bit of a different way of doing it though. So instead of jumping from staircase to staircase or rooftop to rooftop, what he would do is he would jump from women to women. I think he was kind of inspired by his dad, my grandfather, because that man was quite the athlete. He would jump from women to women to women to women. You get it. I do have to hand it to my grandfather, though, because he ended up doing this really cool trick. You guys actually might have heard about it. It made the news a couple years ago. What he did was he went up to a pretty tall building, and he jumped from that building to the pavement. He called that trick last alimony payments. I really started to question everything my dad has ever said to me when my mom reminded me that he considered himself to be a sovereign citizen. What? Okay, yeah, if you don't know what that is, sovereign citizens are people who live within the United States but don't identify as citizens of anywhere. Yeah. Therefore, they believe they can do whatever they want, and no U.S. law applies to them. You will find a lot of them working in Congress. But when I mean no U.S. law applies to them, I mean they don't think you have to have a license to operate a vehicle. They don't think you have to pay taxes or child support, apparently. Thanks, Dad. They will even go as far as to justify murder. They believe that if they get caught doing something that the U.S. deems illegal, that there is a phrase that they can say to law enforcement, and law enforcement will almost just have to magically let them go. But not the phrases that typically work, officer, I'm white. My dad fully believed he did not have to pay taxes because he did not identify as a U.S. citizen. He was also one of those people, too, that also believed the FBI was watching him, so... Actually... Now, that he might have been right about. Lucky for me, though, mental illness just runs marathons in my family. I do have siblings, and depending on who you ask in my family, I will either be classified as the youngest sibling, the middle child, or the only child. I would explain it, but we don't have the time. You don't give a shit. All you really need to know is that in my family, marriage vows are taken as more of a suggestion. I do have an older sister, though, who's incredibly academically intelligent, and we grew up going to the same school together, so she basically paved the way for me to be a massive disappointment. I do blame her for that, though, because I have a learning disability. I'm dyslexic, and I do blame her for that because she shook me as a baby. A according to her, though, that had nothing to do with it. She did have seizures as a kid, though, so in all fairness, it could have just been an issue of, like, bad timing. All I know is she's got multiple college degrees, and me, well, I'm spending my Wednesday night in front of a group full of strangers talking about my fucked up childhood. So, who wins? Please don't answer that. She was the golden child growing up, though, and she knew it. She would always be bragging that she was reading at a 12th grade level when she was in the 4th grade, and that when her mom took her to baby swim classes, they realized she was born already knowing how to swim. I think she was born already knowing how to talk because she never shut the fuck up. I came across an article the other day, though, that said that scientists have discovered all babies are born knowing how to swim. Makes sense. They've had, 9 months of practice? But in that moment, I did feel quite powerful because I had information that would absolutely cripple her mental health, which in my family doesn't really hold on that strong anyway, so. But I thought to send this to her would be rude, it would be disrespectful, and overall just really funny. So I set it aside. And then the next day, I'm at work, and she texted me 41 times in a row. Just stream of consciousness texting about how her day was going. Did you hear me? 41 text messages in a row. It took 41 messages to ruin my psyche that day. And it only took one to break hers, so. She was institutionalized the next day, but I'm pretty sure that had nothing to do with it. She's fine. The institution has a pool. Although the schizophrenics have asked that she stop talking. And speaking of stop talking, that is my time. You've been great, ladies and gentlemen. Allie Anderson.